what was the most exciting part of the night? Like, let me know.
I'm trying to think what the most exciting part of the night was. Because I mean, the crowd was really hyped to see Cena, and then he opened the show, obviously, right?
Right,
And
okay, so that promo, like, let's before we get into like that, because if that wasn't the most exciting part for you, because that was for me the most exciting part, can
I,
we just talk about what it was like seeing that live? Because that
yeah,
was wild, that promo.
it
Like
was like it
it
started out
was
kind of like pandering John Cena to the point where I was almost like, all right, this is, like we've heard this John Cena promo before. And I was still enjoying it because it was like, I'm in the great city of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And it's like, hey, that's where I live. I'm going to cheer for that, right? I love cheering for
I know
myself.
it's
It's my
that fully
favorite.
cheap pot. It's that fully cheap pot where you're just like, ah,
It's like you mentioned the city where I am. Yay, Tulsa, yay, us. So I mean that was just kind of like standard, and I know some of the guys in the work chat and whatnot were like, okay, this is just like standard Cena, this is boring, we don't live in Tulsa, we are not as excited about this promo as people who live there. But once Roman Reigns came out, it was funny actually. Like, it's another thing, I just haven't been at a TV taping in so long that you kind of forget about like the ad break
yeah,
structure of
of course,
things.
of course. Like this is the thing is I forget about this because I'm like, Jesus, how does that fill in again? Like I can't quite remember it.
So John Cena came out, cut his very like pandery John Cena, I will win, blah blah blah. I'm, you can't see me, all of it. And then Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman start making their entrance, and Roman's just kind of like standing there, and Heyman's standing there, and then Roman holds up the belt, and then they leave. And when they left, I was like, is that it? Are they just going to do a face off just like that? Like, that's going to be it? So then there was an ad break, right? What worked for the live crowd, especially a crowd that kind of needed to be told what to do and when to be excited, was Roman and Paul Heyman leaving like that just made everyone pissed. Because we were all just like, boo, you're the worst. We wanted to see you have a battle of words. So when they came
Mm-hmm.
back out, it was a lot, like,
Oh, I
people were
love
more
it.
willing to boo them because they had
I
already
love
been like,
it.
boo,
Yeah.
we don't like you. You're so evil.
Smart. How
So
smart is that? That's
I thought
smart.
that was really clever because on TV, I'm sure you just saw them enter.
Oh yeah, we just saw them enter, and I was like, "Oh, so much heat! Like,
Yeah, and
what's
then
going
like
on?"
once it comes back from ad break, you just see them again. But yeah, in between that, they walked off and like left the crowd in the lurch and then came back. So I thought that was really smart to get the crowd booing. And the promo I thought was definitely fire. I mean, they're going to the whole Rock and Cena well of like bringing up real life personal things and
Oh my God! See, when he was like that, he was like, "Wasn't good enough for Nikki Bella," and I was like, like I literally, I'm not even joking, Sandra. I was nearly having a panic attack. I had to pause it, and I was like, "Oh my God!"
but it must be so weird being John Cena's wife or like being Artem because, like your partner's ex is brought up in conversation all the time.
Imagine that. Like, I genuinely was like, so this is the thing is like, see, when he like Harry with that statement, and I was like, the thing is like, there were so many other kind of like low blows within
Oh
that like
yeah.
throw back and forth. But for me, I was like, wow, when you bring a relationship, and then the fact that Cena actually addressed it, and he was like,
Yeah.
you bring up my failed relationships, and I was like, oh, and I was like, babes, I was like, I can't cope, I can't
I mean,
cope.
it's pretty fair game because they were obviously very they were obviously very
Yeah.
public couple. They got engaged at WrestleMania, like it was an on-screen
100%. I
story
have
as
a picture
well.
of them on my wall getting engaged,
I
like
know, I
still
was
to this
there. I
day.
was there when they got engaged and I was just like, "Oh my goodness, this is so exciting." And then like all the guys I was with were just like, oh. And I'm like,
Mate,
"But for Total
imagine
Bellas,
I'd
it's
been
going to be
there.
so good."
Imagine I'd been there. I'd have been out the door. I can't cope.
Oh my
Life
gosh,
was
I
too
wish you would have
perfect.
been there. We would have just hugged and cried with joy.
Mm.
Um, but no, and then I mean, John Cena came back to Roman, obviously, yeah, with that Dean Ambrose line that Gary mentioned in the chat, like saying
Oh
you
my
ran Dean Ambrose
God.
out of WWE and you did all this and
Oh.
da 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 da. It was so funny though, Jen, because there was a woman sitting behind me. And I mentioned this on the Inside the Ropes podcast, so sorry if this is repetition, but it was just really funny. There was a woman behind me who just hated John Cena. Like, hated him. Hated everything he did. Hated his
I,
opening promo. Like, she was yelling stuff like, "You're a terrible actor, John Cena," which is untrue. Like, he's fantastic in Suicide Squad. But she was like your nemesis, basically. She just couldn't deal with anything that Cena was saying, and she loved Roman. So every time Cena's talking about like, you're not as over as you think you are to Roman, and you've been shoved down people's throats or whatever he said, it was kind of the standard line. She's like, "You were
Mhm.
the same for 10 years," and she was just like yelling like I know. The utter
I'm not Sonda. I would have actually knocked her out. I would have knocked her out if I was
It would
there.
not have been a pretty scene if you would have been in Tulsa, Jed. It
Mm-mm-mm.
wouldn't have been good.
Mm-mm.
I think my favorite was when she yelled, "King Shark could kick your butt, Cena."
What? Oh my god. Whoever this woman is, I will fly to Tulsa. Do you know what? Because I'm due a visit to Sandra.
You have
So
a place to stay,
I will fly
obviously.
exactly. I will fly over there, kick your ass, and then I'll be like, like
Just like this.
exactly, just like this. Just like this.
Other than this woman behind me, I would say Cena was like mostly cheered, but it was pretty split. Like it was more split than I
Oh,
expected.
really?
Yeah,
Wow,
well,
I
and
did
even
not.
before the show
And the thing is,
started,
it did not come across like that on TV at all.
I think it
At
was
all.
split like where I was. It was more cheers for sure, but like even before Cena came out, because we didn't know he was opening the show. Obviously, like we knew that he would be there, and the crowd started chanting "Let's go Cena! Cena sucks!" just on their own, like
Yeah.
between the dark matches and the opening of the show. So, which I do want to talk about dark matches in a little bit because oh boy, Twilight Zone. But it's so strange. But yeah, like I mean, everybody was kind of like some people were booing Cena because they're like the oh boo, like we're still sick of you. But I think the majority of the crowd was kind of there to see him. So some of the booing
Mhm.
was it seemed good natured too. It wasn't like go away, you're an awful
Well, this
prick.
is it. Yeah, like I've always said that. I think it's like the cool thing to be like, boo, Cena. But it's the same as like the Kurt Angle, like
I
you
was just
suck.
thinking,
Like,
yeah, in that
yeah,
vein.
like that's always the kind of the thing is like you want to be the guy that's like, you suck, but actually you realize it's Kurt Angle and that he's amazing.
Yeah, like when we
So
sing "You Suck" at Kurt Angle, it's like we love you.
yeah, exactly,
It's
exactly.
like when I boo Carlos at shows. That's how he knows I love him. You know.
Hopefully not when you're his valet.
Not when I'm his valet, no, just when I'm in the audience.